Welcome to today's video, where we dive into one of the most mysterious and chilling cases in St. Louis, Missouri. This is the story of 18-year-old Jacob Goodwin, a young man whose life ended in a brutal way and whose disappearance left more questions than answers. Jacob was a student, a hard worker, and seemingly a regular young man with a promising future. But in 2013, Jacob went missing after a regular shift at his part-time job. What followed was a series of twists and turns that would expose dark secrets, shadowy connections, and a criminal network operating right under the noses of the unsuspecting residents of St. Louis. What happened to Jacob Goodwin? Was his death just another case of a crime gone wrong? Or was there something more sinister lurking behind his disappearance? Let's dive deep into this chilling case and uncover the details that still remain unsolved to this day. Jacob Goodwin, an 18-year-old student from St. Louis, Missouri, was just like any other young adult. He had his job, his school, and his dreams. He worked part-time at a local store, balancing his life between work and studies. Jacob's family and friends described him as a responsible and friendly young man, someone who had a bright future ahead of him. But everything changed on the night of March 15, 2013. Jacob finished his shift at work and promised his mother that he would be home soon. He was supposed to meet some friends, but he never showed up. His phone was turned off and there was no sign of him. It wasn't like Jacob to not come home or stay in touch, so his family immediately became concerned. His mother, Laura, began calling his phone repeatedly, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic began to set in, and Jacob's family knew something was wrong. They called the police and filed a missing persons report, but at that point, no one knew where Jacob was or what had happened to him. As the days passed, the search for Jacob intensified. The police began scouring the area, speaking to friends and family, and reviewing security footage from local businesses to try to piece together Jacob's last known whereabouts. They quickly learned that Jacob's phone had last been pinged near a rundown part of St. Louis, a neighborhood known for its high crime rate and drug-related activity. The area was notorious for its dark underbelly of criminal activity, and it was now part of the investigation. Jacob's family, devastated by the silence, continued their own search. They knocked on doors, talked to anyone who might have seen him, and visited the places he frequented. But the trail quickly grew cold. It wasn't long before the police realized that Jacob's disappearance wasn't a random event. Something more sinister was at play, and they were starting to connect the dots. On March 21st, 6 days after Jacob's disappearance, the worst fears of his family were realized. Jacob's body was found in an abandoned house on the outskirts of the city. The house had been abandoned for years, and it was a known hotspot for illegal activity. The police had to carefully investigate the crime scene, but there was little to go on. There were no signs of forced entry into the house, and Jacob's personal belongings were still intact. Jacob's cause of death was later determined to be blunt force trauma. His body showed signs of a violent struggle, and it was clear that he had been beaten. The police were left with more questions than answers. Who could have done this to Jacob, and why? As the investigation continued, the police uncovered more disturbing information. Jacob, it turned out, had unknowingly become connected to some dangerous people. His part-time job was at a local convenience store, but it seemed that the store had more ties to the criminal underworld than anyone realized. There were rumors that the owner had connections with the local drug trade, and some of the people Jacob had been interacting with at work might not have been as innocent as they appeared. A breakthrough came when police discovered a security camera footage that showed Jacob leaving the store on the night he disappeared. In the video, he was seen talking to a man who seemed to be a regular customer. This man, later identified as Terry Hawkins, was a known drug dealer in the area with a history of violent behavior. Hawkins had been seen interacting with Jacob several times before, but no one knew the full extent of their relationship. As the investigation delved deeper into Hawkins's life, it became clear that Jacob had unknowingly crossed paths with dangerous people. Some believed that Jacob had witnessed something he shouldn't have or become involved in something he had no business being a part of. Was this the reason he was killed? Theories began to emerge about Jacob's death, but the case remained unsolved. Was Jacob the victim of a random act of violence? Was he targeted because of his connection to the criminal world? Or was there someone else involved? Someone who had a personal vendetta against him? One theory suggested that Jacob had been murdered because he had inadvertently gotten involved in a drug deal that went wrong. Others speculated that the people Jacob had come into contact with were more dangerous than he realized, and his death was the result of a larger criminal operation. But there were still many unanswered questions. Police continued to follow leads, but no one could definitively say who was responsible for Jacob's death. His family, devastated by the loss, was left with no closure. They questioned whether the police were doing enough to find out what happened to their son, and they were frustrated by the lack of progress in the case. To this day, Jacob's case remains unsolved. The mystery of what happened to him and who was responsible for his death continues to haunt his family and the St. Louis community. Despite multiple theories, no one has ever been arrested or charged in connection with Jacob's death. Hawkins, the prime suspect, has denied any involvement, and there has been no concrete evidence to link him directly to the crime. Jacob's disappearance and death highlight the dangers of living in a city with high levels of criminal activity and the tragic consequences of becoming unknowingly involved in a world of drugs and violence. It also raises questions about the effectiveness of the police force and whether more could have been done to protect Jacob. Jacob Goodwin's story is one of heartbreak, unanswered questions, and a family left in the dark. His death, though seemingly just another crime in a troubled city, has left an indelible mark on those who knew him. His family still hopes for justice, and they continue to search for answers about what really happened to their son. The case of Jacob Goodwin is a reminder of the dangers that lurk beneath the surface, of the people who live in the shadows, and of the tragic consequences that can arise from crossing paths with the wrong people. Will Jacob's family ever get the answers they deserve? Only time will tell. What do you think happened to Jacob Goodwin? Do you believe his death was a random act of violence? Or was there something more sinister at play? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.